We will learn how to name angles in triangles. We notice that there's a triangle CAT. So this is triangle CAT. And this is also triangle DOG. So DO triangle GOG. Up here it states that they are similar. So sometimes we have triangles that are stated that they're similar, and sometimes we have to name them that they are. So these two are not congruent right now because we have to name them in the right order. So if you notice how we started with the C is this one here on the further on, and then we have A is the next one, and we end with the right angle T. So if you notice how the dog triangle was named, it was DO, so the right angle is in the middle here, and the right angle over here is the T, and those are the corresponding angles. So we have to get them in order. So I'm going to erase my triangle dog because I need to get them in order so that we can have them in that same order. So we want to do corresponding angles together. So I noticed that on my smaller triangle, my T ended. So that means my O over here, my right angle, has to end my label, my listing. So then my C is corresponding with the D, so that's the beginning of it. So that would be D. And then the A corresponds with the G up here. So it's D, G, O. And those are now similar. So now we can write the symbol for similar in between those two. Now what's pretty neat about this also is that we can write down, if you write it underneath, it works really good to kind of keep everything organized. So whenever you are going to write a C, it corresponds with the same D as in the other triangle. Same with the T and the O. So if you ever write an O down and you need to write the other corresponding angle or the corresponding point, it's always that T, and same with the A and the G in the middle. So a lot of times we can name angle T, we can see is congruent to angle, and then here it is, T with the O. So angle O, those are the corresponding angles. And most people can see that they're right angles. That's the given angle. So we can really match those up nicely. But these other D and G and C and A, sometimes they're close and you can't tell which one corresponds with and connects with the other one. So that's what this really helps us with in organizing that. So let's start with angle D here. That angle is congruent to angle, and D is down here, so it corresponds with C. So angle C, and then angle A is congruent with, and I can even just look up here, A and G, and I do that really quickly. I don't have to look at my triangles anymore because I've really done the thinking ahead of time to organize it and then to organize it here. So sometimes what happens though is we get tricky problems that we can't name just a single letter. Sometimes it works great and we can do that, like here in this problem, because it's not a complicated problem. But we have to have a different way to name that. So let's take a look at angle T. So this is our vertex for our angle. And if we take a look on this angle, we're going to look at that angle. That's what's made by the angle, is the side lengths. So I'm going to name that angle by starting with the C. So angle CTA. And that would be that CTA angle starting with that C. Notice how the T is in the middle. This is the middle, the vertex of our angle. and that's at that right angle. So that's another way to write angle T. Now, we want to name the congruent or the similar angle to it. So that would be C corresponds with D. So we'll write that first. That comes first. D comes first with that C. If we can kind of see it over here. Then the next angle is T. If we look at that over here, which is O, so that's in the middle, so we need to make sure that that's in the middle. And then G and A, so A is at the end, so G has to be at the end. Similar thing with the D, so angle D, let's find angle D, because we want that in the middle this time. Where's D? Right here. So we were looking at what is this angle corresponding to the other triangle. So O, I'm going to start with the easier one with a right angle here first. So I'm going to start with O, D, and G. So that starts with O at the right angle, goes to my vertex, and makes that angle, and then finishes up with G. Is congruent to angle. Now O corresponds with T. I'm looking over here with T, so I'll start with that. My middle one is D, so that would be D and C are corresponding. So that would be TC, my second one, my middle one. And then the last one is G, which corresponds with angle A. And we can do that also for the last one. So that would be angle A would be our, looking here, where A would be our vertex. Let's see, where's A? Right here. So I'm going to switch colors to a red. So that's my vertex. So that means A needs to go into the middle. And then I think I'll start with the C this time and end with my right angle. So you could go the other way too, but I like the word cat since I have two of them at home. I will put angle CAT, which corresponds, I kind of noticed that this CAT is already in that same order, so I can just, the corresponding ones are right below it, so D, angle DGO. And that's how you organize and keep everything. So when we come to a vertical angle, this is a little bit harder because we need to name this angle, the angles that are congruent by being vertical. So we want to name that angle and that angle. And if we say angle P is congruent to angle P, which P are we talking about? Are we talking about this angle or this angle or this angle or this angle? We can't tell. There's 4 different P angles. So that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. So we're going to go back to naming them with the 3 letters. So we need to kind of organize where is the certain ones that are going to be. So P is going to be my middle letter. So angle, and I'll put that in the middle to start with. And I'll start with A down, A, P, B. That's my angle I want right there. So I'm going to A, P, B is congruent to angle. And then I'll put the other one down here, T, P, S. So the P is in the middle, the point of intersection where those lines come together to make that angle is in the center, and then T, P, S. And that's how we name the specific vertical angles that are congruent. And that vocabulary word was vertical angles.